Dr. Johnson, thank you for meeting with us today. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself and your background here in Tulsa Public Schools?
Sure. Hello, Mr. Osborne. It's Ebony Johnson, and I'm the Interim Superintendent of Tulsa Public Schools. I am a Tulsan through and through. I was once, as my mother has shared, born at St. John's Medical Center. And so I say that to say that I've been here my entire life. I attended schools in North Tulsa, of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I count it an honor, and I'm privileged and proud to say I'm a North Tulsan. So I attended, of course, the elementary, middle, and high schools here. I graduated from McLean High School, and while growing up, I had an idea that I would like leadership, didn't know that I would love leadership, in that I have the ability, and even then, to affect the lives of others. And so I'm grateful for teachers and support staff members and community members who saw something in me and poured into me. So the work that I do right now is truly me giving back to a city that's given so much to me.
And, one thing I want to ask you is to start off with, since becoming interim superintendent, what work have you undertaken to improve processes and outcomes for students here in the district?
It's interesting that you asked that, because I would say that I'm probably in my, 65th day. I start losing count, but I will say that I haven't been in the role long, but lots of work happening from the time that I started until this point. So I definitely want to say that I've been leading out with work, but it's with the support of our team that we've been able to get some monumental things completed already and done. And so as interim superintendent, of course, there's an expectation that I adhere to what's being presented right now, which is we have quite a bit of expectation that's being put on us, and then expectations for us to make some changes. So we've been doing a lot of that. So for an example, we created what's called a transformation team, which is really just pulling like the serious resources that we have in our district, both in people, time, and money, and putting that towards the schools that are struggling the most. So I stood up that team along with my team members in about a week or two time span. And from that, we've been gone with it. I mean, we are taking off. We are meeting regularly. We are looking at data on a consistent basis. And we are out in our school buildings, swinging doors open, saying hello to principals. Can we then help you to move students along in an expeditious way? So definitely have stood that up. Within that team, we have focused on several areas, and I'll just name a few of them. We're focused on, of course, academic expectations. So moving the needle with our students right now in real time, because our students are in our buildings as we speak. We've also focused on chronic absenteeism. So I've spoken a lot in the media about, and then to our families directly, around the need for us to see our students on a daily basis. We have a chronic absenteeism issue in our entire state and in the nation. And so we've taken on, under my leadership, the charge of what can we do in order to get our students to come every day? What are the barriers? What are the core reasons that they are not coming? And how can we provide both support, a push for them to come, and then some levels of accountability as well? So how do we work closely with our families in that? So those are a couple of the areas. We also have some fiscal and internal controls a strategy that we are pushing, as far as, unfortunately, we had a decision that was made by one of our former team members that has had quite a bit of an effect on our district. And so how do we ensure that we adhere to our dollars in a way that we can be proud of how our dollars are used, that we have a transparent process for how to use those, and making sure that we regain the trust of our community with that. So lots of that work has been happening, graduation work and other things. And so under my leadership, those are some of the things that we've pushed.
Just to name a few, right?
Just to name a few.
Now, you kind of mentioned it, but you face a challenging timeline for improvement by state leaders. What do you believe are misconceptions state leaders might have about the work being done for students here in Tulsa?
Well, I think, let me just start off by saying that I actually am in agreement with a need for us to look at our data and see what we need to do to progress. I think that that's a challenge and a charge for every district across our country. That's the work that we do every day. We figure out what are the areas that we need to grow within, and then how are we going to actually make that happen? And who do we have on our teams? Who do we have in our schools? What type of professional development that's needed? So those are not uncommon practices. I think that the difference between that and where we are now is that our timeline has been ramped up. And I think that the beauty in our timeline being ramped up is that we've got people on our team that are like, let's go. What do we need to do? Like, we're here. Like, we love Tulsa. We love Tulsa Public Schools. How can we make this happen? And then on the other end of that, we have like, but what's realistic for our system? What's realistic for the population of students in which we serve? It can be done, but do we have a realistic timeline in which to get that done? And so those are some of the questions that we're asking on a daily basis while we're doing the work. And we're doing the work in an efficient and effective manner. But we are constantly asking ourselves, and what I would even say even more to answer that question is, how can we better understand the data in a way that is realistic around our EL population, that's realistic around our immigrant students? We enroll over, 100 immigrant students roughly per week. So how do we, contend for the fact that those students will then have, potentially taking an access test as well as a proficiency test at the end of the year in a language that is not their native language? And so how do we ensure that, students who have demonstrated over several years that they've struggled with chronic absenteeism or, the inability to demonstrate what they know on an assessment, how do we expeditiously get them to where they can actually demonstrate that in a year's time? So those are definitely some of the challenges that we face as a district, and not that we're not up for a challenge. It's just that at some point we do have to be even more realistic about our capability of meeting the mark.
I see. And on that note, what is your message to parents? When you think about the national climate around education right now, it's very tense, right? What is your message to parents concerned about students having a safe space to learn and live authentically amid a nationwide effort to ban books and limit curriculums?
Yeah, I'll just say this. One of the things that is important that parents know is that they are their child's first teacher. And in that, they actually have a lot of power inside their home to really make sure that their child is positioned and poised to come to school with so much great background knowledge. It's important that parents know that they are in control of a lot of information that they want to share with their own child, books that they could then be reading and sharing, going over math problems with their children, talking about world news and life. They have the ability to do that in their home, and we want to encourage them to do that. They're their child's first teacher. In addition to that, I want to, as the superintendent, I want to reassure them that when they choose Tulsa Public Schools, they are choosing a district that, one, wants their child's best interest. And we're going to do everything we can to get them set up for a post-secondary opportunity. So when you come to us, we're getting you ready for what your life could be and look like when you graduate. Are you going to military? Are you going to trade school? Are you going to college? Do you have a job that's going to then get you stood up to a point where you can actually, feed your family and feed yourself and take care of yourself? And so we want to make sure that they're prepared for that. And so we want to just say to families, that's what we're about. And when it comes to, materials and curriculum and books being banned, one of the things that I would just say is that we're the constant. Tulsa Public Schools, our educators, all of our team members, we're going to continue to forge full speed ahead with what is best for our young people. All of the other things that are happening around us, and there's multiple things, those are considered the variables. We're going to stay in the constant space. We're going to continue to support our families with ensuring that their child has the best post-secondary opportunity that we can provide them for what's best for that child. And we're open, and we welcome them to come in and say, can you help me with this? And I have some wonderings about that. Or are you doing the best you can for my child? And if they perceive that we're not, I'm asking them to let us know what we can do better.
you know, what is your ultimate goal for the future of TPS, and how do you see the district coming together to fulfill that goal?
So, out of all your questions, Mr. Osborne, I would say this is my favorite. And the reason that I say that is because, it's something about getting a blueprint in your mind and then the blueprint being very crystal clear regarding the way in which we're going to move in future. And so not only do I have a blueprint that's, been given to me, that's in my head around Tulsa Public Schools, I also know that we will be an exemplar from that blueprint. And so I know that right now, of course, from the outside looking in, it seems as if we're in a very, very difficult situation and a difficult spot. But every time those 33 plus students show up to our schools, it motivates me to operate in that blueprint and to get us to be what's called an exemplar district in all of the United States. And so, having said that, it is my hope that as the community learn more about who we really are in Tulsa and who we really are as Tulsa Public School people, we got a plan for how we're going to make sure our students are great. They're going to get their foundational skills. They're going to continue to get those 5 core areas of academics that they need. So all of their core subject areas plus opportunities outside of that. So internships and college acceptances and all those things that we would hope our students are poised and ready to then walk into. So they're going to get that from us. When things are considered and perceived to be subpar, I'm on top of it. And so we've got transformation team members. We have a superintendent who's looking at data on a weekly basis to check to see the progress of how we're doing at each one of our sites. We're going to ensure that there's strong leadership in every one of our schools. We're going to ensure that I have strong leadership here at the district office level and that we're going in the same direction in order to become that exemplar.
I'm just curious, when it comes to the weight of ensuring that the entire district of students is better off after coming through TPS. Personally, what keeps you going? What inspires you? What motivates you to get up, especially when there's challenging times?
Yeah, I don't know. I think about all of hold on. I'm actually a product of Tulsa Public Schools, and I started off in a situation that, on paper, people would say, she's going to have a lot of challenges trying to be great one day. And here I sit. And so my autobiographical response to that would be that my mom, she's a rock star. She ensured that my sisters and I, no matter how difficult things were, that we got our butts up and we went to school every day. And we had better not have that school call her on her job. And I'm just going to tell you, I don't even know what that means because we never had it to happen because she didn't play any games with us. And so I am a witness to what can happen when you believe in a student from the beginning all the way to their adulthood. And so I truly believe that's what we're doing for our young people. And I know way too many alumna of Tulsa Public Schools who are amazing. And they are working in their professions. They work both in this city, they work in other states and cities, and they work across the country and beyond. And so they are products of Tulsa Public Schools. And so as a result of that, I'm motivated. And we're just going to continue with that game plan because it's worked for so many people who have come before our students now. What we have to do in this space is just to ensure that we don't deviate from that. We need to be the constant. And there are some things that bona fide, they just work, like ensuring that students actually get a high quality education. They actually get a college and career diploma. They get across the stage. Once they get across that stage, they actually go for another stage where they're walking across a stage to get some bachelor's or some master's or some doctoral degrees, and or they pass an ASVAB test so they can then get into the military, and or they qualify to go to our tech centers like Tulsa Tech and other opportunities, and or they have an internship where they rocked it out and so that company wants to hire them right away with credentialing. So those are the things that motivate us each and every day because we know that that can happen and has happened and is happening right now for our students.
It's the year 2023.
Yes.
Right? A century ago, the greatest, wealthiest, most industrious Black community in the nation had its heyday right here in Tulsa. And so, as someone who grew up in Tulsa, who stands on the legacy of these giants, what do you want your legacy to be in relation to the spirit of Greenwood?
Thank you for that question. And I'll just say from the onset, I count it an honor, a humbling privilege to be an educator, following some amazing, amazing both educators during that time, as well as all of those entrepreneurs and those business owners and those beautiful residents that looked like me. And I'll just say that that's the spirit that drives my leadership. So in some of my previous conversations, I've talked about the 3 R's. And my leadership is led after the 3 R's right now. The first R being we're responsive. We have young people in our classrooms and in our buildings right now who need us. They can't wait for us to play around or not be serious about their education. We must take advantage of every single day to get them to where they need to go. And I believe that that carries the spirit of Greenwood. Our people were very responsive to the needs of our community. They had an economic base that demonstrated that they knew our needs and they were addressing those needs in a way that just was truly remarkable. I would also say that the second R is, we have to be results oriented. And it's so important that whereas we do great work, we have to be able to show that we're doing that work. And sometimes that looks like numbers, and just being very matter of fact about that. But the R that makes me the most excited about this conversation is resilient. And that's my third R in that, I did my EDD when I worked on my doctoral degree at the University of Oklahoma, and it was about resilience. And when I think about, Black Wall Street, and I think about, what was then and the spirit of where we are now in being a resilient people, I'm encouraged. And I walk into this situation, this educational beauty, with fire and just with excitement and with joy and with purpose. And knowing that there are some people that have a lot of expectations for me to carry on the spirit of where we are now from where we were. And so having said that, again, I'm a person who is joining in on some really difficult work that was done then, and then the difficult work that's in front of us on behalf of the Black and brown children, as well as all of the children that I serve in our Tulsa community and in this city.
Wow. Thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely.